Okay, so welcome everyone to Unbreakable Strength Stories. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some people in now. I've been told I need to not quite look quite so much like I'm trying to kill everyone. So I'm going to chat away and. Hello, there's Rob.
Hi.
Hey, hello. Hey, hello, Gav. How are you, mate? You all good? Apologies there. I had a few technical problems. My the sausage fingers trying to press the buttons to get everyone added and went a bit wrong there at the start light sort of thing. So, but now we managed to get everyone kind of up and going. So, just welcome everyone to Unbreakable Strength Stories edition 3. Obviously, with myself, AD Monks, Rob as normal, Rob Stiff, and this week we got the bull. The old Welsh bull,
Yeah,
Gav
nice.
Bilton's with
Happy to
us,
be
which
on,
is
mate.
awesome.
Yeah,
So, it's nice
very
to have
excited
you
for
with
this
us
one.
here, mate. Yeah, no, it's we've kind of had a chance to catch up a few times in the past, sort of thing. But it's normally fleeting conversations at
Yeah,
competitions and sort of stuff like that. So it's nice just to be able to kind of sit down and have a proper catch up, which is good. So, I mean, I guess we'll dive straight in. So, I mean, I know that you've kind of released a statement about this, but I guess it's probably a question that a few people have got. How's the injury? Obviously, you
yeah. It
kind of
was. That's literally
had
what
a
it
tweak
was.
on the weekend
On the
at Europe's.
170, you could see I lost balance and sort of just pulled to the one side of it. There was just something niggling there, and then 350 for reps is quite heavy. And then because I went out so soon after the well, actually, I went out quite into the deadlift quite later, but it was just a bit of a thud, a pop. I thought it was something bad, but it's turned out to be. It sounds really bad to say. It turned out to be nothing. It was sometimes like tendons can overlap and then they can sort of pull back across, things like that. It could have been anything. It could have been the belt shifting, the suit tightening up. It could have been, but with that sort of weight and with the pressure of what's coming later this month, I just didn't want to risk it. So I had my hamstrings checked out, my back checked out, and it turned out just be like it could have been what Rocco said, the chiropractor on the day, and Eddie Hall said it. It could just been two tendons overlapping and just pop back across, which we all know how strong and thick they are. So it's a little bit sore, but there's absolutely nothing there, which is quite frustrating because I would have, I trained so well for it. Well, I trained for the Worlds, and this was just on the way. So it's frustrating to be in such good shape and then not being able to put it down because the performance at Britain's Strongest Man proved that when I don't pick up injuries, then I can perform quite well. I'm not saying I would have beat Pablo. I don't think anyone could have beat him that night. He looked. Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to win
It
it. I'm
was
not saying
pretty
he's not going to
amazing,
win it this year.
wasn't he, to
But
be
that to me
fair?
was like a world champion's performance. It was like untouchable. Nothing fazed him. And he's such a nice, humble guy. Alexei Novkov coming second proves how good that guy is. So, and obviously, Ivor smoke status is so it's not an insult. Hopefully, not to him. And assuming he's just such a calm guy, he's always you've seen him at the SCL. He's so chilled out, and then also
Yes,
he's
yeah,
an absolute
yeah,
animal when it comes to that. He has a
yeah.
great switch where he can be just chilling and then bang. But yeah, going back to the injury, I am absolutely fine. I've had physio today. There's nothing there. I just need to just get back into training tomorrow, and I'll be ready to rock and roll for the Worlds.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's good news. I mean, I was there on Saturday, sort of thing, and I saw you kind of pull up, and I was like, oh, geez, what I mean, sort of thing. And obviously, you don't kind of we didn't get any kind of live feedback on the night, sort of thing, from kind of Darren or anyone on the mic, sort of
Yeah,
thing. And obviously, you kind of assume the worst, don't you? With those sorts of things.
yeah,
And it wasn't until a bit later on I saw you kind of come out and were moving around and sort of watching some of the show, and I thought, oh,
oh,
actually, obviously, okay, so it's
yeah.
not
Because
yeah,
instantly I
I don't
thought
think
when
it's
it was
anything
like a death,
major.
I could
It's
see it
just
like
maybe a
a
bit of a
thud. I was like, I've snapped my hamstring, and like because of the twinge in the back, I thought when on the log, I was just sort of like feeling uncomfortable. I was like, what was like? It was just a bit of a pop on the press. This whole press there, and I stumbled back. And I was like, oh, that felt weird. But sometimes these things happen. I mean, you could do it with an empty log. You could do it with an empty bar. Something can go like. There's only one winner when you go against steel, and that's steel. So yeah, and it sounds horrible to say, but it's not worth the risk the squeeze isn't worth the juice, because what like 2 weeks time is World's Strongest Man, and I'm in good shape for it. I'm feeling. I just can't wait for the show. I wish it was tomorrow. Get me like, but yeah, I think with the 30 athletes out there now, Paul Dwyer's going, which is.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
I
it was
mean,
nice today, wasn't it? So,
yeah, he was injured last year, which he had to pull up before the show. And he came second to Britain's Strongest Man last year, so it's a well-deserved invite. It might have pissed a few people off, but that's unfortunately that's how the sport goes. You're never going to be, you can't make everybody happy. So,
well, you're never going to please everyone, are you? You know, I mean, ultimately the call's been made, and you know, and that's it. He's going, and you know, he'll go in, you know, under the same conditions as everyone else. All the other 29 athletes have got, you know, go and do their thing. So, I mean, leaving aside the thing on Saturday night, you know, how's the prep been going generally? You know, have you kind of progressed how you wanted to? Have you had any kind of problems along the way?
Or has it been a smooth from Britain's Strongest Man? And a great prep to that. Qualifying through Wales' Strongest Man, you know, the official one. A solid 8 weeks of training. I was back in the gym, I think, Wednesday after Britain's Strongest Man, and it's been going great. A few sessions left, because even though we fly out next Saturday, we don't start till next Wednesday. You know, everyone knows the dates we start, so you can still be able to push yourself pretty hard. Because I'm a guy who likes to. I don't like to sit back before a show. I like to train for as much as I can. You know, we're all the same, just so we feel. I don't know. We don't feel so like deflated, do we? Like, even if it's just to get a bit of chest and arms done, but the preparation for World's Strongest Man has been great. Me and Dale, you know Dale, we have worked well. Sometimes I've annoyed him with some of the stuff I've done when I've gone a little bit off plan, but he can't moan when I hit the numbers, but he definitely moans. But
you're good as gold, mate. Because you got Tyler as well. Whatever you're doing,
like he fell off the tire a few weeks ago. So I know if I'll just be like, I saw that. Does it twice as bad. So
yeah, you're never going to be the worst one there. Like, so you're laughing, really. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, you know, Worlds is a massive thing that's kind of coming around the corner, sort of thing. You know, you've been before, you know, obviously, sort of thing. So, I mean, what's the goal? You know, this time round.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't mean in any kind of disrespectful way at all, but you know, I know that you kind of have short-term, long-term goals. We've kind of talked about it a little bit in the past.
The way I train is to win. We all do whatever we do, whether it's rugby, football, golf, whether walk of life or sport you're involved in, or even if it's business work. I mean, you know yourself, when you were playing rugby and you compete in this sport as well, we all do. We train to win. Otherwise, it will affect your performance. If you're a fighter and going, I'm just going to see if I can get past round 3, round 4, then you get knocked out in the first round. So I believe I can win. I have, like we said, I'm not disrespecting any other athlete, because all 30 of them guys can think they can win, which it should. So my plan is to make the finals, and then just let everything take care of itself. I just focus on me like I did last year. I was kind of worried last year. I thought, well, I didn't have, you know, the 2 years before, it's like they were bad outings for me at that show. I was sort of too heavy to be out there, you know, and things like that. Obviously, I was qualified, that sort of thing, but I dropped a lot of weight. I'm fitter, I'm faster, I'm stronger. The moustache is looking great. So, yeah, why can't I win? So my plan is to go get the win. That's how I have to hit the event. Because if you think, oh, well, just make the finals, then you're already falling short. Yeah, it's great to make the finals. I'm not saying that. I just want to win.
It's a mentality thing, isn't it? It's kind of going in with in the right headspace to, you know, kind of attack it, and you know, for, you know, almost like, you know, you talk about manifesting things or visualizing things, you know, in your head. You know, you kind of visualize yourself on the podium or whatever sort of thing, and
it's not arrogant. You know, and that's what I'm saying. You want to win. You've got to back yourself. It's a confidence game. You manifest it happen. It's an individual competition.
If you say to yourself, "Oh, I'm just going to go there and see what happens," you will not make it past. I know it sounds weird. The first day, you will be sat bottom, going out first. Everyone know what to beat, and then it's game over for you. So how I was here, I'm sat on that plane, and then within 2-3 days' time, I will be competing to win, not just make the finals. But I know it sounds this is like a sort of a stupid to go back on myself, but I want to make the finals as well. You know what I mean? Make the finals, and you're top 10 in the world. And
you're in the mix then, aren't you? You know, you get to the final, and then, you know, I mean, the events obviously have been published quite, you know, quite openly, and I thought it was a real master move by Darren and the guys at Giants to do the same events at Europe's as in the events, you know, because as you say, from an athlete's perspective, those two competitions so close together with different events would just be crazy. You just wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't have peak performance. You just wouldn't be able to.
If they'd been different events,
sort of thing. So
I think
you know,
it would have been maybe a different lineup. I know the guys would have done it anyway, regardless, but it would have been so hard to train 5 events at that level. And that Europe Strongman is an amazing title to win. It is huge. It's way up there on like the level of titles to win. Say like you had like a deadlift, a max deadlift or a max log. That's the first year it hasn't been max log. So it was great for like the Darren Sadler and all of his team to go, I tell you what, how about we just, all they needed was a finger's finger and we would have been bang on. It was just like, I think 6 events and I mean, I think that we've like, it's so easy. Obviously, this is the great thing about Giants Live, how they think of the athletes. So Darren said, like, oh my God, that is close. It's 10 days, 14 days. And they were just going, how about them? We just put these events, you know, and that's how it is. It saves the body because you can't train for a show. They go 2 weeks, I'm going to train for the Worlds. It's like, it doesn't work like that. But
yeah, you commit the movement to muscle memory if it was a completely different set of events between 2 comps with 10 days.
Hard, I think.
Mental.
A lot of guys would have gone there and just been like, you know, they were just not to win. Of course, not, but it would have been so difficult at any level of athlete, especially the ones that like that's at the top. It would have been so hard to be like try and train them 5 events, and they also got trained for another 10 events, and then first 5 are completely different. Like there's a max log when you have to do repetitions at the Worlds. You know, it's the log ladder. The deadlift looks cool. You know, that keg deadlift, so it kind of that's 50 for reps. You can kind of think that would be a session. So, but it was just unfortunate. It didn't work out well for me that show. But it's great that the Giants Live, they you know, like they do, they all work well, and they just sort of swap the events. So that's what they just planned it like that because you have to think of the athletes. You can't be, you would burn yourself out there in 2 weeks fight and then go against a lot of guys who haven't competed and just trained and they're fresh for that show. Then it would definitely change the top 3 outcome. Then definitely.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if they'd have done that, then you would basically be disadvantaging everyone from the European side of the draw massively because, you know, your Trey Mitchells, Brian Shaws, all the names that everyone knows, they just had a nice long run in to train those events. It'd make a massive difference. Huge difference.
And then you've had like 8 weeks after Brits. Europeans haven't had one show this season sort of thing, so they were just training for Europe. So they're going, well, how can I train? How can you train for 15 events? Or 20? It would have been so hard to do. You train, you know, your training is structured to a certain way to peak at a certain point. So it'd be hard to peak your log and then think in 2 weeks' time I got to do this. I have to go from 120 to 185 or 190. It'd be like, well, kind of it might be they work together, but when you've just maxed out 2 weeks before and then you've got to hit 5 logs and one of them could be a max, then the body just isn't going to respond well to it whatsoever. No.
Yeah, it's just not going to work, and you know, and you won't get the best of people at Worlds, and potentially people might have held back a little bit at Europe's as well to try and, you know, you end up with 80% on both of those events. You don't really get the best out of everything, sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's great this all worked out that way. It's great that, you know, you're
such a horrible feeling because
really too
I thought it was like, you know, it was from the log, it was a bit of a twinge, and then I was like, I only did 2 reps. I went for it felt, the weird thing is it felt good, even though it was slow. I can put a lot faster than that. I'm not just saying that I can. I could get like 6 or 7. I just thought I can grind these out. I hardly wear a suit, and I put my suit on. Felt tight, felt good. First 2 felt, you know, you found my line after that second one. Then I spoke to Mark Felix, said he was sort of like looking for something. You know, I was going up really slow, and I was like, and then as soon as it went, I was like, But realistically, if I just sort of stood up and shook it off, I maybe could have just gone again. But worst case scenario, we don't really think in them situations. It's hard to go, oh, that was nothing. What was that? What just happened? And with all it's like, so I listen to my coach. I'm a very good friend, Simon Hammett, Eddie Hall, great on the night as well. It was just like, because obviously we are idiots, man. We don't grow up. Our toys just get bigger and more. Oh, I had to listen to people because otherwise I just carried on, and who knows what, like something that wasn't nothing could have become something. You know, that little pop might have been just here between the vertebrae. That's what it been.
Yeah, I think we've all done that, haven't we? Do you know what I mean? You kind of felt a niggle, and you just kind of, I'll be all right, and you'll just crack on, and then you end up doing something much worse, and you screw yourself up for weeks and weeks, sort of thing. And with the close proximity to the world, that's just
I fucked it for the world. I was like, oh, I can't believe this has happened. And then when I stood up, I felt like an idiot because I was like, do I put a limp on to walk off? But they were sort of, I could feel like there was like warmth in the leg. I was like, oh, something's definitely gone. And when the doctor did all the tests, he was like, it could have just been like tendons, it could have been air popping, it could have been, but like, at the moment you don't know, you just instantly think the worst. Like we always do, that's the way we are, that's the way we're programmed.
And sorry.
Yeah,
I think
safe.
for people that haven't done some of the events, we're talking about, you know, if you compare it to mountaineering, this is in the death zone on Everest. The weights that you guys are lifting, you know, you're at the tip of human endurance at that point, and you are literally one false movement. That's why patterns are so important in cues, because you're one false movement away from ripping a bone off the muscle or cracking a vertebrae or actually breaking your back.
What it was. Like, like I said, they felt slow. And I thought they felt good. I was like, I got them. Sometimes this happened in the gym. I did a set a few weeks ago, and they felt slow, but I was like, they were comfortable, if that makes sense. But then maybe because I half-assed the third one, I was like, this is me. I thought that Conan's wheel looked horrible as well. It was all like jumping as they went around the suspension on the quad. But Pablo just smashed the world record, and someone then Novikov just behind him. I thought it would have been hard for me to even make top 5 from there because I only had 17 something points. I would have had to win that and the stones. So like I think I did that set of stones in like 17 seconds. So capable of winning it, but it would have been to what extent? What would I have got out of it? From 11th to like maybe 7th or something, it would have been like, is it worth the risk? So I just thought, I got worlds. I want to, you know, I was thinking I'll snap something, rip something. I thought, all I want is the worlds. I want to make the finals and I want to win the world. So I thought, right, let's be, because that's what I'm supposed to be. Listen to the people who want to take care of me and just pull out with the show. I mean, Giants don't think any less of you. Darren Sutton and Colin Bryce are not going to think any less of you because you know, you have one body, you have one, you know, you do something in your back, you tear hamstrings, it can end a strongman's career. It can end most careers if you know, you get a serious grade 3 tear, whatever. With that amount of weight, it isn't good, like, especially at 350. I'm not like saying that you can't injure yourself in any way, but you're thinking 350 kilograms for reps at that weight. Like you said, he's top of Everest. When something goes wrong, it is to go wrong like at 100%. You know, like if you're at the bottom and something goes wrong, like, oh, it's okay, we can just go back. But when you're at the top, and you know, you're almost just touching that top of Everest, when something goes wrong, you're like, this could be it. So that's a great way to say I love that. Yeah, so definitely that's why I was just like, let's pull the pin and then let's focus on what's coming up next. Like,
I mean, it's you kind of mentioned a bit about rugby there as well, and it's probably a good kind of link through to that sort of thing. And I guess rugby is another sport where, you know, you're only, you know, one tackle, one scrum, one whatever away from ending your career, irrespective of whatever level you're at. So I think it's, you know, it is a sport that falls into that category, as same as lots of other ones. You know, it's, you know, all or nothing. You've got to commit. You've got to physically put yourself in there to be successful. But you're always riding that, you know, riding the lightning that at any point
definitely
it could
that's
go
what
wrong. Do you know what I mean? And,
it's a
you know,
great way to like thrive off
that,
it. You think that, like, I always have envision like one of my mental like sort of like triggers will be, this could be it. So give it as much as you can, because nobody knows when their last show is. Nobody knows when you're going to cross that white line for the last time and play. You know, I don't mean as in death. That's not what I'm going on about. I mean like injury. Like, you know, we've all played rugby. We've all done contact sports. We've all watched it. And you see guys who just get smashed once, and then that's it. Their shoulder will be gone, their hamstring, their knees gone. One deadlift away, you're one press away. So hit it as hard as you can and try not to think about it, but you want to think about it because, like, this could be it. So do I want to go up on the top? So it's kind of not a morbid thing or kind of a negative thing to say, but most of the guys, like, at the top levels will think that because this could be it. So I'm going to run my fastest race. I'm going to do the fastest lap in my Formula One car because it could be over tomorrow. So how do you want to go out? Do you want to be the guy who's like, oh, well, I had a crack, but I couldn't be arsed. So I'd rather be like, Colin McRae said it, if in doubt, go flat out. So,
Definitely. But I think you will all have done it in the changing room before you go out for a match of rugby. You're visualising that first contact. You're visualising that first set piece, what you're going to do, how you want that to play out, how are you going to get over, one over on your opponent. Certainly, I was in the front where you guys were pushing me forward. You know what I mean? So I'm always thinking about my body position. I'm going to get one up on that person because you got 700-800 kilos bearing down up your ass. You're going to get folded in half if you don't get it.
There's a lot of pressure on there
now, and I'm like a question mark.
So, I mean, we kind of mentioned about rugby, and I guess it's a good point to kind of go back maybe to kind of pre-strongman for you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, we were all, as you know, Gav, we were all ex-military, served sort of, all that sort of stuff, and obviously we have a kind of that common kind of background, and obviously, I know you played a lot of rugby when you were in the army and when you kind of came out and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I guess my question is not so much about that; it's more about the mentality. So, like the kind of mentality that you picked up in the military, the kind of the way that you kind of process things, the way you think about things. I know it has a big impact on how I go about my day-to-day business. I'm just wondering whether, what your thoughts on, what things you've taken.
That's something I never really spoke about. So I think that most men like to keep things, and we obviously go through certain things in the military. And I always like to say the good days outweigh the bad days. So no matter, you have a week of shit, but everyone's in the same boat if you want to. Then you have whole months where it's just amazing, like whatever. So it definitely changed my outlook on a lot of things when I left the army because, in a way, the army is quite easy. You're told where to be, what to do, how to do it. I'm not saying it is easy, God, because it isn't. But so my thing was when I come out and with my training, the process, it was like, well, I've been through worse than this. So when the sessions get tough and I'm like sweating, I'm literally, I would have wet myself and I would shit myself maybe, and there's blood streaming from my nose and I've just passed out or I'm about to. I always think I've had worse than this. I always think there's a reason why I'm there. There's a reason why I sounds brutal. There's a reason why I got through 2 tours. So this is the thing that drives me because seeing the things and going through them things always makes me appreciate more. I think we all do. When you serve so long in such a job that can be so brutal, you have to appreciate the things that sometimes get taken for granted. I mean, as an inventeer, you get absolutely smoked sometimes. You know what I mean? It's a rough old job. There's a lot of rough jobs in the army, but yeah. And on the first tour we got, it was a tough one for us. 2009 was a hard one. I don't think anyone really seen that come in. But I was with a great bunch of men. And like I said, the good times outweighed the bad days. So every time it gets tough, I always just think I've been through worse. And I feel a little bit sorry for myself, but I've been through worse. So like, the remotes were out in the battery earlier. This is so funny of the new TV I got. The remotes were out. I was like, oh God, I had to get up and open the thing I've been this. I was thinking, why am I moaning? Because the remote just run out of batteries. I was like, oh my, just little things like that. I was like, just relax because, yeah. So when I
Well, it's perspective, isn't it? It kind of, I mean, it's funny you use those words, I mean, maybe in my head it's a slightly blunter way of putting it, but sometimes like when I'm struggling with something or whatever, I'm just like, I've done worse shit than this. There's nothing that is coming down the range at me, at the moment that actually even touches the sides. So just deal, not deal with it, because that's maybe the wrong way to put it, but it kind of gives you that perspective, and you can kind of step back and go, yeah, this is a problem, but it's not a problem.
Mentality, isn't it? It's like take a knee, change magazine, right, where we going? Right, let's go. because it ain't going to get done. It ain't going to get done if we don't do it. So let's just get on with it.
100%. I got a thing. Like when you're lifting weights, no one's going to fucking do it for you. Nobody's going to do that for you. And in the job that we were in, and and it's not going to get, it's not going to finish itself. Like what the task we had to do was never going to get done by somebody else, because it was our job, your job.
Well, no one's going to say
so we always have that little
just
mentality
you
in the gym
and the
that you're
people
never
around
too big
you.
to put your weights
That's all
away,
you got.
and no one is going to do it for you. So when I program the people I program, and they're moaning, I'm like, well, I ain't going to fucking do it for you. You know what I mean? So just do it yourself, because otherwise what you're trying to chase is never going to happen, because you're not putting the work in. So, the old saying, you get out what you put in. So that is my mindset. And also I trained with Graham Hicks quite a few years ago, and I trained with him, a lot of session after that. And we're getting ready, I think it was for my first Worlds, and we did a deadlift session. It was horrible, really, really heavy, and it's a horrendous setup, but it was like to be brutal. Like, we went out into some events, and before we went out, he turned on these like heaters in his little room, which I didn't know about. And when I came back into the room, it was absolutely boiling, and a bit like stones. It was like 120, then all the way up to 200. And I was like, oh, I can't be bothered, man. I'm a little bit sore. And he went, you don't have a fucking choice, Gav. He said, if you get to the Worlds, you moan about the heat, you moan about your hamstrings a bit sore, or this or that, or this. He's like, you ain't got a fucking choice, mate. So that's the sort of thing, almost like a military, you don't have a choice. You've got to do this. If you don't, everything will be undone. Yeah. So, like, when people ask for advice, they say, well, if you want to lift weights, you ain't got a fucking choice. I mean, you've got to, in the sense, if you want to lift weights, or if you want to become a good footballer, oh, but I don't want to do that. We don't have a choice. That's the only way to become a great fighter, a great soldier. And the next, like entrepreneur, the next billionaire, I always just say, like, you ain't got a fucking choice. So ever since he said that, I think it was like 3 years ago, it just sticks with me. When it gets tough, I'm like, I haven't got a choice. If I want to be this man, this is what
I always have the voice in my head, which is like, one is a bloke that Adi knows, a bloke called MH, who was my instructor on my NCO's card when I was in the army. And he's always in my head telling me the right thing to do. And then I've got another guy called Kev Fortuna in my head who's telling me the right thing to do. Not the right process to do, but Kev's telling me the morally right thing to do. And I always have them in my head as my like moral compass. And I reckon if I stay between them, I'm always all right. And it's always that conversation, Gav, about, well, just stop moaning about it and lift it. Once you lift it, it's done.
I mean, I guess in a way you could, for me, if I had to kind of like boil it down into a couple of words, really, it's mental resilience. It's that kind of that ability to use the kind of boxer analogy a minute ago. It's the ability to take the punches, to take the hits, and still endure, to still stay on track, still keep going forward. And it's almost like you say, no one's going to take me there unless I take myself there. And it's and you guys will know that it's that kind of mentality is I mean I was going to use the term pack mentality, but that's probably the wrong. But you're in it together. You can't let other people down, and and I guess the way to bring that into kind of strongman is that you have kind of people around you that you care about, that support you, that work with you, and you want to succeed for yourself, but you also want to do well for yourself.
It's like the Stoltman say, leave a legacy.
Family,
so
or whatever.
Nobody, so it's not saying that no one's going to help you, but no one's going to do it for you. People will open doors for you all day long. You know what I mean? The mountain to Mohammed and the horse to water, all them sayings, it's true, because the men and women sat at the top of all their industries haven't just fallen there. Some might have with their silver spoons, but most of the guys and girls at the top of any level of anything in this world have worked their balls off. They've done it all off their own back. So I think one of the most honest sports is lifting weights or playing rugby or boxing. When it's more individual, I think it's the onus is on you. When you're lifting weights, you can have a million people around you, but when it comes to the fight night, comes to golfing, tennis, it's just you. So you've got to be honest with yourself. So that mental resilience thing you mentioned, I think it is spot on in like any walk of life. You want to be the best cashier in the world, scanning products all day long, whatever, but to be tough, I think, which a lot of people are lacking these days. It's quite sad to see, but there's still a few people around that have them sort of beliefs. I think we've got to be tough. This life is tough, especially if you've seen the other side of what could be tough. You've only got to take a trip on one of the planes that we would have sat on and go and see what life can be like, then you'd understand that this perspective could be myself, you're talking shit, Gav, but it's not. I think we've all done and seen things that you go, holy shit, my life isn't that bad actually. Yeah, we can have tough days. I'm not saying I'm not saying you should have days you just curl up in bed or watch crap on TV. There's a point there, if you're still lying there 2 weeks later, there's something wrong. Just have, yeah.
I think when you appreciate the light.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sound like a philosopher.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's something that is a. I mean, Gav, Rob, you both know it's a massively important subject to me, and I know it is to both of you as well. The whole kind of mental health aspect of it. I mean, Gav, I know that you do stuff already in the community, kind of working within Wales and other places as well to kind of support that. I mean, and obviously we have kind of Combat Stress as our our designated charity for Unbreakable promotions, and we kind of donate from all of our sales for Lift the Bar, and I mean, they're all little things, that isn't raising millions of pounds or anything like that, but it helps to kind of raise a bit of awareness, and that kind of subject that you can hear from this conversation that we're all passionate about, and it obviously affects ex-military people, but a lot of people that haven't served in exactly the same way. So it's it's a massively important kind of subject, and it's great to talk publicly like this about it, that people kind of see. I mean, it's part of the reason why I kind of brought that brand across into strongman as well, because it's a little bit like there's a well, if I use you, Gav, so if Gav Bilton, one of the strongest men in the world, can talk about mental health openly on a live podcast like this, it kind of destigmatizes it. It's not about being weak or any of those kind of things. It's just
even with today, how we are open here, a lot of people should talk about it, and you just have to go through Instagram and see the reels of people, but they talk about it when men will sit a podcast and just chat, and it's a good one when Mike Tyson does it, and people will just break down because they're just being so open, and I think it's great to to be like that, but still there's a massive stigma where men, I understand being tough, I get that, but there's times where a bloke has to just press that release valve, because there's horrendous cases. We all would have known people who've just been pushed too far because they're like, well, it's like a sort of double-edged sword. You've got to be tough, but there's a limit where you just got to be like, right, let's just take a step back and let's just decompress and let's talk to someone, because a problem shared is a problem halved. If you have an issue, just talk to someone. I think people would rather just have their ear bent for an hour than to stand around a grave wishing you spoke to somebody. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So this is where blokes are just like, oh God, I want to be tough. It's like, yeah, you can be tough, but remember, everyone has a limit. There literally is a limit for everyone. So it's just.
I mean, sorry, go on. No, I was just going to say that the way I kind of summarize it a little bit sometimes is, the strongest thing you can do is ask for help. It's kind of sounds like reverse, because you're asking for help, but actually, being strong enough to say, I can't manage this, so I need help. And reaching out is.
If I'm going to impart any wisdom, it took me 16 years to ask for help. I wish I'd done it. I wish I'd done it much sooner. I wish I had that crisis point where I was in a really, really dark place. And I think that's the message to get out there is, don't do what I did. Talk to someone soon. Talk to somebody as soon as you start to feel like it, because then it's easier to deal with. It sounds simple, but it's really hard.
Yeah, it really is. But it's. I mean, there's if anyone's kind of interested or has any problems, and if they go across to the Lift the Bar page, there's a whole load of links on there. Where you can get advice, and if you need help, if someone's listening and who wants to reach out to me personally, I'm more than happy to kind of direct you to the right places to get you help. I'm not an expert, I'm not professing to be one, but I can kind of direct you at the right places. Okay, so I mean, I guess we sort of talked a little bit about sort of strongman. The bit I kind of interested as well to find out a bit about, Gav, as well, is your interest outside of strongman. So obviously, strongman's a massive part of your life. It fills a lot of your day. Training, rest, recovery. Food. But in that bit of the day that you've got that isn't revolving around that? What do you like to do?
Probably a bit of COD, Call of Duty. I love Call of Duty. Probably from the army days where don't use much. Sports afternoon would be in the gym for a bit, then going to, like everybody would, especially when they had slam accommodation. That was the worst. Even if in a room of 4, you just lock the door, you go to the gym for a bit, and then you'd always find the guys who always share the same rooms if you were a bit of a gym rat, or if you were into rugby, football, boxing, or whatever. And then you're in the gym for an hour. But I like spending time with my brother. I have an ill brother. He has learning difficulties, so he's a pain in my ass. But I love him to bit. Spend a lot of time with him. I recently passed I got a CBT. I did my CBT, so I got a little bike that I'm riding around on. But yeah, well, most of the time it's literally just relaxing. I'll find something to do in the garden. And it is just chilling out. Or most of my time is occupied with my brother, though. If I had to be, it gives my parents a break because they're getting on. They're 70 and my mother's 64. So just gives them a break. Take him out. Take him just out for food at the house. Go for a drive with him. I got a thing for garden centres. I love going to garden centres. It's really weird. So I'm trying to find like big garden centres, but most of the time it's just relaxing with my brother. I read a bit. I think I've read Bigsy's book for like the 3rd time so I enjoy that sort of thing. But and then I only coach one person, and that's Luke's a really good guy. So I'm always trying to tweak it, just writing stuff down. I got a thing for just writing. I don't know why. I just write stuff down, like not little stories, but just like what a strength mean to me. And I just got a whole book full of random stuff, and maybe one day they get turned into a book. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. It's, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's interesting to hear you talk about it, and obviously it's quite a common theme, kind of family and, those kind of things that you find relaxing and, irrespective of what it is, I mean, everyone has those kind of things, that they enjoy doing sort of thing. So it's, and I guess for the people that maybe come to the Giants live shows or whatever shows you're doing, the SCL ones and stuff like that, it's kind of, they see you kind of turn up, and it's nice for them to kind of get a little bit of the other side of you sort of thing. I mean, it ties into my kind of next question a little bit is that, I mean, obviously I've seen you at a ton of Giants live shows, I've seen you at a couple of the SCL ones as well sort of thing, and
yes.
Obviously you were at SCL UK last year and you're at SCL in England this year again. And you always get a massive reaction from the crowd. Yeah. I mean, it is a cool thing. That must be really, really.
I always get worried that that the crowd is a little bit quiet, but because the music, like SCL in Gloucester, was amazing. Like you sort of aware of the noise of the crowds, and you sort of like lining up backstage, or you stood where we were stood, in SCL, and it's like, oh, is that louder than mine, or is this mine going to be louder? The Giants live on the weekend was huge. Cardiff's was an unbelievable reception, but then Gloucester, I think, was one of the best I've ever had. Just as like, it was.
You just said with the bridge, mate. You're local,
one of the best shows I've ever done. Like I don't know what it was. I know you, but I'm not just saying this. But I told everyone after the show and during the show, and all the athletes were saying it. It was just the way it was run, and also the events were awesome. The crowd being that close on top, there was so many people there. I can't wait to do it again this year. And obviously, Pavlo's coming across to do it this year. I mean, what sort of lineup is that going to bring? I mean, that guy on the back of an amazing Europe's win. He's going to go to the Worlds and he's going to smash it. Hopefully, I can steal a few points off him. Hopefully, he's not in my group again. My God.
I bet there's a few people that are feeling just like that now. I mean, he's always been amazing. Do you know what I mean? He has been for the last few years, and maybe hasn't got the visibility that that he deserves, sort of thing. Like, but I guess you're right. I bet there's a few people that are looking at them groups now going,
"His Stones and all that good." Or some of them, he's just good at moving. Well, there's only 2 people to press all them logs on the weekend, and he was one of them. So there we go. So that's his static power. Maybe if it was for max, but there's no max deadlift. You know what I mean? And then still you would smash everything else. He's just an incredible athlete, and everyone thinks they get carried away by calling him light. He isn't light. He's about 140 odd kilograms, which in rugby players' perspective is very unheard of. I think Will Skelton at 155 if you think he is,
Yeah. He was
Oh,
very
like
nice.
five,
so,
I think, Billy.
and then we call him light in this sport, and he's 140. I think he's like 144, 140. Like, oh, he's only like he would dwarf and smash most rugby players. He's super. Yeah, the first time I met him was Europe's last year,
Like
and when I stood next to him, I was like, "Who is this bloke?" And he's like, obviously I knew who he was, but I was like, I didn't think he would be that tall. He's just like, he's a guy. Yeah, going back to the reactions, I think Gloucester was
yeah, he's a big guy, isn't he?
was just awesome. It's all like, it's all because you have to play it to the crowd, so it's not an act. I am super passionate about what I do. So pulling the deadlift, press the log, that Viking walk is such a cool. If you don't, then the crowd is just sort of like, you've gotta perform, because that's what we are. It's not, nothing is forced with me. I am that passionate. You could just go through my Instagram and look at my lifts in the gym when there's me and the wife and I'm screaming at a log. Like, it's things like that. So, and it shows that you want to be there. Sometimes if you come out and you're just like, the crowd like, well, what have I bothered then come watch you if you can't be arsed? So, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's entertainment, isn't it? As much as anything, you know. I mean, it's that kind of merging of, you know, being super strong, but also, you know, being, you know, available and kind of working with the crowd and making it entertainment, you know. And it's equally as important, you know. And if you kind of look at, you know, there have been some real, you know, through the history of strongman, you know, some of the biggest people have been people with character, you know, that are good and entertaining, and, you know, and all the rest of the sort of stuff. And it's, you know, it's a big part. You know, it's not natural for everyone. You know, some people just aren't that way. I mean, Big Z's probably an example of that. You know, super strong guy. Not a criticism, but he's not. You know, he's never kind of been that guy. Do you know what I mean? To run around
the cheeks. That was usually like,
and stuff like.
Yeah, just like it was. I think he won his. I think it was his third or fifth title on the Stones against Brian Shaw. Then you've seen him celebrate. That was a good one to watch. But yeah, I think. But he was entertaining because of his the pure size and the power of him. So if you have a balance of both, that's good. But he was just like. It's not in him to be like, I don't think. He's like, well, you know, like, this is my celebration, like showing you how strong I am. And the people loved him. He was like one of the first juggernauts of the sport in stature and in what he's achieved. I spoke again, hopefully he'll be coming back soon. I mean, I still think he's got a bit to give, but it'd be so hard for someone like that to retire when you've done it for half of your life. How could
well, it's mad, isn't it? Really, you know, you look at the kind of photos of his trophy cabinet. It's not even a cabinet. It's just like a house. He's got a trophy room. It's mad, isn't it? When you look at all the.
I mean, yeah, because he won 4 World Strongest Man. I think he won
man,
3 or 4 of the IFSA titles as well. Yeah, I mean, how many more could he have won if he had stayed with the World Strongest Man? I'm not sure, but that's a great combination. And then obviously to win all the Arnold titles that he won and everything in between. Like, I mean, I think he's like 9 or 10 times Lithuania's strongest man. He won it last year, even at like 40 odd years of age. So he's still got a lot to give. And it'd be great.
Did he have the SEL? Did he ever win the SEL tour?
Say again?
Yeah.
I think he did actually. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I know he did it for a while, and I think he won it maybe once or possibly twice, maybe just once. Yeah. I mean, you know, kind of diverging a bit towards Big Z, but I mean, when you look at it, what he achieved, bearing in mind that he did that in an era of Brian Shaw and Mariusz Pudzianowski, you know, so to win that much against the competition that you had is immense, you know, and it's just kind of crazy impressive sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's that's a debate that goes on and on, doesn't it? Who's the GOAT and who's the best,
the GOAT,
that sort of stuff. That kind of goes round and round.
If you just go off, I know we're going off on one now, but I just think, yes, Pudzianowski won 5. I'm not knocking that. Oh my God, to win 1, to make the Worlds is amazing. To make the finals is something else. To win it 5 times and against the guys he did, but I just think Big Z as a whole with his career is the absolute GOAT. Because like, could you call Floyd Mayweather the GOAT of boxing, or would it be Muhammad Ali? Even though that he had more fights, but he hasn't lost a single fight. So that's what the investors think. Muhammad Ali is obviously the GOAT because of his, just the way he was. You know what I mean? Just the way, yeah. But yeah, that's a, maybe.
No. It's something you could debate all for hours and hours, isn't it? When you're kind of looking back over the records and and all that sort of stuff. And it's a really interesting conversation that it's kind of been had over a pint probably a fair few times and on a lot of things like this sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, so kind of obviously kind of in the military, came out of the military, started strongman, kind of and rose through the ranks, were really successful, and I've seen the videos of like, your first kind of competition and stuff like that sort of thing. And, you kind of, pretty much kind of exploded on the scene really a little bit. And, that kind of, so it's not, I guess it's not that long ago, when you were in that position. So I guess my question is, for guys that are looking at you now, they're seeing Gav Bilton on the TV, Giants Live, World's Strongest Man, and there's a guy that's thinking, I want to start strongman. What would your advice be to that person? Knowing what you know now, and if you could like go back into that person's head and say, these are the things that you need to think about, or these are the things you need to do
patient.
to set yourself on the right path.
This will be my 5th year involved in this sport, and I know that's not long in any stretch of the imagination or in any sort of career, but my first couple of years, I was like, my first 2-3 years, I was like, I could win the world, I'm just as strong. And I was rushing my training and things weren't going right and everything just sort of plateaued within the first few months of me starting the sport. So if I could say anything to anyone, I'd just be like, be patient and trust the process. And it's quite hard to say find the right circle of people because you don't know if they are, but you will. The right people will be drawn to you, or you will be drawn to them, or you will find a gym that is just spot on. Because the people I've got around me now, the people are from, there's a few have dropped away. 90% of them have stayed here. I've got a really, it's just, my wife and my coach, and my very good friend Simon, who I run the gym with. And obviously I got all the other members of Area 51, who I trust completely, and we all want to succeed. But you will find the right place. You will find the right people. You will find the right weight category. If you want to be 105, if you want to be like 64, you want to be a heavyweight. And you'll find the right gym. Don't push it. You will find like, the right gym with all the right equipment. There'll be a place that could be like, yeah, I'll buy the equipment for you. Or if you buy, you can store it in my gym, things like that. And then people will come to your gym. And then as you move into the sport, they will drop away and you'll gain more friends and whatever. So yeah, all the advice I would give is just be patient and trust the process. And just try and think ahead. Like, where do I want to be? Because if you're aimlessly sort of training and going, this, and this, and pick your battles. There's so many I can say, yeah, but like, trust the process, be patient, and pick your battles, and remember you need to have a life after this sport. So you think I'm going to do this, and I'm going to train and train and train and train. There's sometimes we just need to take the foot off the gas, and just remember you have loved ones who loved you if you were doing nothing. I mean, just sit down with them and just. Because there's so many times I've lost friends purely because I'm just like, I can't go out and drink. I don't drink no more. No, I don't drink at all. I have like maybe a drink when I'm watching rugby in the house. I only go for food. So when I can squeeze in my training, so I'd always remember you can have a life after this sport. So don't just get swallowed up into it. I know that sounds so stupid because you want to be fully committed, but if you immerse yourself too much and you forget everything outside, then it's almost like you've just lost. That's just you. You want to be a strong man, but you want to like have your loved ones with you and your friends and family with you. Like
balance, I think healthy balance. You've got to have balance in everything, and otherwise one gets out of whack. You get your priorities all wrong. You're not training right. You're not sleeping right. You're not eating right. Or you're not giving those people that give you the freedom and the license to do all that training the time that they deserve. And that's the struggle, isn't it? Keeping everything balanced.
It becomes a pressure cooker, doesn't it? If all you do is strongman, you don't do anything outside of that in any way, and it's almost like everything becomes so geared around that you end up making poor decisions because we were kind of talking about patience there. Success and
Yeah, there's nothing you can do to rush the
measured
process.
in months and years.
Like I tried it
weeks
with
and
all the
days.
food and the way I was training. I think, well, for me 2 years ago, it literally almost cost me my life. So you can't rush time. You cannot rush the process. Say you can have a crash course in driving licenses, but then if the instructor still thinks you're not going to pass, he ain't going to pass you. You can't rush. You can't rush the day. You can't rush the hour. You can't rush the week. Just trust it. And like nobody is like I said, nobody is born strong. Yeah, you might have, it could be 6'4", you have a really wide frame. Like Michael Phelps, a swimmer, perfectly built for swimming. Brian Shaw, he's huge. All the other guys who are just as big, but like nobody is born strong, and you can't rush anything. So it's so easy to go, I can do more. Well, if you can do what you're going to do in 3 weeks, because you ain't going to be, it's not linear. You just go in up like that. You need to be like this all the way through. I mean, you read Biggsy's book, he never maxed out. He only ever did what he did to win the show, or to win, if that makes sense. So like, even when he pressed the log, he says his book, he had like 240 or 245 in him. He just did enough to win it. So if you think that he was still getting stronger then, so if you're starting, you're going, I want to be here now, it's like you can't. You physically can't. Unless there was a Captain America style drug where you inject and you're super strong in the next second. That doesn't exist. So just be patient, trust it. Patience is such a hard thing to master. I mean, even it's another knock. You guys are older than me, and we still struggle with patience. We're like, I want it now. Is like, no, you can't. You've got to be patient. That's it.
I mean, it goes back to that point you were just making about who the people you have around you, and it's kind of those people giving you that advice and going, stop being an idiot, don't do that, and grounding you, I guess, is the way that people say it, and it is almost like, kick your ass for you and go, you're being an idiot, don't do that, and having those people, they're like gold dust, aren't they? Having those people around you that are going to push past anything and just say it as a loved one or a family member or a friend or whatever, and actually push past politeness and go,
unfortunately, when that was happening, I was ignoring people,
damage,
and it worked out wrong for me. Now I know it's something that it took me to get bitten before I listened, but I thought I was invincible. I think we all do. I think there's a thing with certain people, they just think, I can't be touched, and I can do this and I can do that, and it wasn't. I mean, so like also another good saying is, don't eat with people who you wouldn't starve with. You know what I mean? So if you wouldn't be hungry with them, then don't eat them. Well, people, as for like guys and girls who want to start anything, there are people who just jump on your back and I'll ride this guy's coattails to the top. But you'll see them, they'll fall away. Always, like I said, this is a group of people that would, you'll know if you just take a deep breath and you listen to them, they've got your best intentions. So if I just go, no, I'm not going to listen to you, Si, I'm not going to listen to you, Dale, I'm going to do this, and all of a sudden I blew my hamstring or popped a disc in my back, you'd be like, well, look, if you just took a deep breath and went, they mean well. It's always the ones when you're a bit ropey and they go, nah, just have a go. You can sort of, if you took a step, I'd be like, they just want to break me. You pull 200 kilos, 220, see what happens. And he's like, why? Also, just take that split second to go, well, why is he making me do this? Or why is she saying that? So always you can't pick them. They will just draw to you. And like a transformer or whatever, you just create this amazing little robot, if you want to, of just people who all work with each other. Because I had the same for Simon, I had the same for Jake, I had the same for the boys all in my gym and all the girls in my gym. And it'll just be this little group of people who just sort of, a bunch of weirdos, I like to call them, all just the same little thing, and we all lift weights and shout and all that. But yeah, there will just be a group of people that will just be naturally drawn to something. Yeah.
I had a really find your tribe, and you'll know when you find them. You'll know because it'll just start clicking.
Yeah, it just works, doesn't it? It just it feels natural. That comfort level's there, and and you kind of you were talking about Area 51, which is obviously the gym that that you run, sort of, and I know obviously you run competitions out of there. You've got one coming up in the not too distant future, and obviously you do World's Strongest Man out of there, and the official one that kind of runs you through to Britain's Strongest Man, you know, so, you know, that's something that you and I have in common now with the England's and Wales kind of alignment sort of thing, which is great for, obviously, for the English athletes, you know, to have that kind of pathway. But I mean, I guess my question was more generally about the scene in Wales. You know, obviously you kind of name check Luke, and obviously there are other guys as well. You know, how vibrant is it? You know, are there a lot of competitions that are run at a lower level? How many athletes are there?
Oh,
is it,
like,
you know,
yeah,
is
like I
there a lot of
mentioned,
stuff kind of
Luke's
coming up through the
earlier.
system?
There's so many good guys. There was always been great talent in Wales, but that's all I'm trying to do, is trying to just promote it. So, like, I'm doing it for myself. It sounds ruthless, but I get these shows and I do this, and I'm just sort of name dropping these people. But you got like Luke Spaduti, Garrett Khan, Jamie Butler, who's coming through, who's an absolute monster, who won the other Wales' Strongest Man qualifier with ease, trains in my gym. Jake Steed, strong guy. The guy who trained with Simon is immensely strong. You got Matt Diamond, Mark Jeans, Desmond Gannon. If he's not injured, he is a good guy. There's a lot of, I missed a few, I'm not trying to ignore them on purpose, but there's a lot of guys in Wales at the moment that are looking really, really strong. But unfortunately, they have to get past me. That's not, I'm not just blowing. They do to get past me to get the Britain's Strongest Man. Within 2 shows, if you can beat me, you can be at World's Strongest Man. You beat me, you get the Britain's, get on the top 3, you go into the Worlds. It's as simple as that.
Well, the pathway's there, isn't it, sort of thing? And a few of the people that you just name checked there, Matt,
Yes.
Luke, and a few other people are all in the SCL qualifier. So yeah, so you know they're all coming across to Gloucester on the 17th of June to kind of go through that. And you know, who knows? You know, we've got 2 guys qualifying through this year. So you know, I mean, if you look at the athletes that are in there, it's solid. You know, you've got all the big names from the UK kind of scene sort of thing are there. You know, the you know, and it's rammed with talent. So that's going to be a hell of a battle. Whoever comes out of that has got some serious bragging rights. You know, I mean, obviously I know that they'll go through to SCL England, but when it comes to kind of pecking order for the guys that aren't on the kind of Giants SCL scene, that sort of level, you know, they've genuinely beaten the best guys in the UK.
I've got to mention that on Josh Edwards. It's not last time. He's a very strong boy. I think he's doing the SL qualifier, but yeah, like I said, there's a lot of guys there. So if you come top 2 in that, you have earned it, and you earned your spot at the SCL and to go against the big guys, and then who knows what can happen from there. Kane Francis, look at Kane Francis, smash, yeah.
We talk about a meteoric rise in the sport. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of, I think it was SCL Portugal last year. You know, kind of last minute kind of you know, chucked in there the thing, did really well, had a real great run of it, all the way through to Britain's Strongest Man. You know, came 5th. Had a hell of a, you know, he's now reserved for World's Strongest Man. You know, that's
he's a good
mad,
guy as well.
really,
He drink as well. He is a mad rocket. Like, we did Gloucester game. He was at Gloucester, wasn't he? Yeah, and then we did.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. Yeah. Well, that was the joke of it, was that he. I mean, obviously, I've known Kane for a while, sort of thing. Like, and he'd already agreed to come and help me out at Gloucester to do like the load in and stuff like that. So him and Mitch Flowers, Shane's brother, had already kind of agreed to come and help. And then obviously the SCL Portugal opportunity came up. He went and competed, did well, came back, and I'm not sure of the sequencing, but you know, like he turned up on the day, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're competing?" He's like, "No, I'm here to help out," and that says everything about the guy.
Oh,
you know what I mean, if you needed to kind of understand what kind of person he is, you know, he's exactly that. You know, there's no pretense, there's no anything. It's just it is what it is, you know, sort of thing. So yeah,
he's off to Wales. I was like, "Oh, look, a proud dad."
Yeah. So I mean, we're just jumping onto the hour mark now. So I mean, probably what I'll do is I'll bring it to a close at that point. But I mean, I just wanted to say a massive thank you, Gav, to you. You know, it's been really, really nice to get the opportunity to have a chat with you, kind of hear a little bit about, you know, where you are, what you think about things, you know, a bit about your past, and obviously, you know, that we talked a little bit about mental health and, you know, what your kind of aspirations are for the future. I mean, obviously, you know, kind of looking forward. I mean, I know you've got Worlds coming up, and I know you've got SCL England. So just kind of as a closing piece,
I think I'm doing
what other
SCL
stuff
out
do you have?
in
Do
Siberia,
you have
is
anything
it?
else booked in for this year?
I think I'm done for that one. And then I've got the Albert Hall, but this subject to invite. But then the next big one for me will be the Cardiff show, the World Deadlift Championship. I just missed £1,000 last year. I came 5th, which is a good run in, off the back of a strong performance at the Worlds and things like that. So like I'm aiming to break the £1,000 or join the £1,000 club come the end of this year in September, and get on that podium in front of an amazing home crowd. I didn't expect it to be like that. It sold out. It was an awesome show. So my plan is to smash the Worlds, win the SEL in Gloucester. That's the plan after that. Have a bit of fun in Siberia, and then yeah, it'd be cool to do the Albert Hall. I got the moustache and the look for it, but let's see what old school.
You can be on the poster, mate. You can be on the poster with one dumbbell.
If I don't do that, the next one after that then will be the Cardiff show, and then I'll roll into the end of the season and hopefully get a few more invites to SEL. And I obviously missed out last year due to a small, what I thought was injured myself at the Wales is what I thought was an injury, so I couldn't do the finals. But yeah, I'd like to have a crack at the finals. I really would.
Yeah, it's a good comp. Yeah, over the 2 days. I mean, I've been there for a few years now, sort of thing. Like,
yeah,
it's a good way to finish the season for sure. Like,
yeah. Thank you, guys.
Bit of wind, sun. Look, okay. Anyway, look, Gav, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Rob, as always, thanks for joining us. Sort of thing.
Background noise. I'm trying to do this podcast in a rifle company, so you're lucky there weren't men with their clothes off coming in front of the camera. So apologies for any background noise. I was back off. Background.
All right, cool. Cheers, Gav. Cheers, Rob.